Hello and welcome back to another part of Design Your Own Level tutorial. In the previous tutorial we created these pipes. We had a little bit of a discoloration there, but that's only because of the lighting that we haven't properly set up yet. And we created this pipe over here, which actually came out pretty well. So we set up the material, we created everything that we require, except for one thing. We need the connecting parts, as we can see inside of Mirror's Edge over here. So in order for us to create that, we're just going to jump over into Blender. Alright, and then we're going to select our pipe. We're going to duplicate it. And then we're going to go into edit mode, and then wireframe mode, and then just scale it down. And we're going to call this pipe connector. So from here what we're going to do is we're going to take the pipe, or this part of the pipe, we're going to drag it over. And we're going to go into edit mode and we're going to scale it up. So we have something roughly that looks roundabout like that. It needs to be fairly large because it's a fairly big section, so let's make it like a little bit larger. And then we're going to take one of the corners here and we're going to hit E to extrude, and we're going to scale it in until we get to a part of the pipe that is just slightly larger. And then we're going to hit E to extrude again, and we're going to extrude it out. Something like that. And then one last time, E to extrude, and then you can hit Alt M, and you can say merge at center. And then you see that it will close it out and merge all the extruded vertices to meet up at the center. And then we can just repeat it, the same process over here. But essentially, because the pipe kind of like mirrors this side with that side, what we can do now, which would make it slightly easier, is we're going to do something like this. And we're going to make it smaller. We're going to hit E to extrude, S to scale in one time, and then, okay. Maybe that was a little bit too much, so let's just scale in. I just want a little bit of scaling. And then I'm going to E to extrude again, and then just bring it out a little bit like that. Then I'm going to select my object. I'm going to go into the modifiers tab. I'm going to add a mirror modifier, and there we go. So let's just quickly do this. It's strange. There we go. On the Z axis. And I can actually just undo all the moving that I did over there. There we go. Now we need to kind of like bring these together. We're going to enable clipping so that when they touch, there we go. And effectively that is our two pipes connected. We can click apply. And then we have the section that we want. It's done, it's created. But if you want to, before you actually hit apply on your mirror modifier, what you can do is do UVs first. So you would effectively just unwrap the one side UV and then apply it later on. So for the mirror modifier, let's wait until the end. But a few more things that we need to do. I want to smooth out these edges, so I'm gonna select it, hit Control B, and there we go. I don't want too smooth edges, they must just kind of like look a little bit better. And then these ones, I don't think you'll even notice if I bevel those out, so I'm just going to leave those as is. And these ones, I don't really think you would need that detail, but let's just add them anyway. Here we go. So that looks pretty good. And now we just need to add like bolts into it to make it actually look like these two areas are held together. So we can quickly do that by Shift C, and let us add a circle. I'm going to give the circle 6 sides. Then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, tab into edit mode, and I'm going to hit E to extrude. Actually the opposite side so that we don't need to worry about anything. Then E to extrude again, and then Alt M, merge at center so that we have like a closed cap for our bolt over there. And then we're just going to do something like E to extrude, scale, extrude again, and that looks okay. So now what we can do is let us hide this area over here. We're going to jump into side view and scale this all the way down. Okay, I think the larger, there we go, and then we can like drag this out all the way. This is by far the more complex of all the models that we've created so far. So once we get through this tutorial, it should be fairly easy. So actually want to see if I add a mirror modifier to this one, what would happen. Okay, it doesn't really give me much options of that, so unfortunately you're gonna have to like duplicate these out. But that's also another thing, you can apply a UV map to this one bolt and then just duplicate it, and then all will use the similar or same UV map over and over again. So we have our bolt, it is pretty much done, except that we need it to come out on the other side as well. So what we'll do here is we're going to hit, I don't think I need it to come out all the way, so I'm just going to select this one and then select these parts, and we're going to hit Shift D to duplicate, and we're going to scale it, or drag it out first, scale it on the x-axis by 1, so that it's x-axis by -1, sorry, so it turns inside out, and there we go. We can maybe make it come out a little bit more, but I think for the purposes that we're using it for, that's fine. I just inverted its normal, so I just need to recalculate those again. Alright, so there we go. That's what our bolts would look like. They are essentially joined together. Even though they look like it's going through, it's not, so let's make it a little bit longer. We could do something like that. That actually is starting to look, it looks unnatural, it doesn't look good. Alright, so that is that part actually done. I don't think we would need to put like another one of those on there, so I'm pretty happy with the way that it looks. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to UV unwrap this. So I'm going to clear all the seams because we duplicated a lot. We made a lot of unnecessary seams over there. So I'm just going to select this inner part here. I'm going to hit Ctrl E and mark a seam. And then this outer part over here, Ctrl E, mark a seam. Yeah, let's just close that notification. Going to unwrap. And let's just split off the area and see what it looks like. Alright, that actually doesn't look too bad. We can actually get away with that, but seeing as how we want to keep like a nice uniform, we'll select that part, mark a seam, and let's see if we unwrap now. That looks like a little smiley face with an eye, but we don't have the other eye. Oh no. So let's just see if we actually mark a seam on this side as well, and we unwrap. We've got two edges, but now if we're going to go for something, it will actually have two visible seams running through it. And I don't know if you'll be able to hide that too clearly, because one of these sides will always be visible. So we're going to ignore the second seam that we created and just go with this one. So I'm going to stack this up, and then it's going to be the same process of we're going to scale on the y-axis so that everything kind of meets up. Scale on y. Remember, it's always scale on y by 0 or scale on x by 0. Okay, so you can see that's actually a curve, and we can use it as is. Don't believe that it's going to cause any real distortion. Let's just scale it, maybe scale it on x a little bit in and scale it on the y out. Don't hide it. So that it covers a bit more of a surface area scale. We can actually, and then take this one and also scale it out a bit. And then that would leave this area open for the bolts itself, even though they're not that large. We should actually join them together, but they probably will have their own material because they are separate parts. So it all really depends on what you want to do with them. Let's just actually see if we just plain unwrap them. To be honest, that is completely usable. We don't really need to go into too much detail with this. Your other option would be to actually project it from view, or we could do a smart UV unwrap and see what that looks like. Alright, I believe that we can work with that. So let's take this, scale it in, and we're going to pack it on the left corner over here, the right corner. And yeah, let's just go ahead and join them together. Okay, now it's going to mess with the mirroring process. But now that we're done with the UVs, we can actually apply the mirror and just see what that looks like. And let's join these ones together now. There we go. And then I can actually delete that. And I'm going to apply smooth shading again. And into edit mode, I'm going to select these. And I'm just going to duplicate them a couple of times. Shift D, there we go. Rotate -90. Alright, so the setup looks like it's going to be pretty easy. -90. Alright, there we go. We actually have all of them set up. Okay, kind of weird that I missed a few of the bolts. Really weird that I did. Okay, but let's just go with it. Shift E, rotate 90. Shift E, rotate 90. Now you might be thinking that, oh, I'm going to be adding unnecessary detail because I'm overlapping with another one. I will remove them. You'll see how we do that now. Okay, now I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. It's UV unwrapped. So we can actually import this into Unreal Engine 4 and see what it looks like. But first, what I'm going to do is just here in edit mode, you'll see there's an option for remove doubles. If we click remove doubles, ooh, it didn't remove any of them. Okay. Unfortunately, it does seem that I would have to redo all these bolts again. So that didn't work this time. Sometimes it does work. Sometimes it does work because they do tend to fill the same space. So I'm just going to recreate these and then I'll be back now. Alright, so that part is done, so we managed to redo all of that. And now the two options would be whether or not we want the bolts and this area over here to use the same material. It would be actually ideal if we can get them to use two different materials. It will all be quite dependent on what you want to do. So I think what we're going to do here is we're just going to repeat the process that we've done in a couple of the other videos. We're going to select all of these, and then the same with these ones here, because they're essentially all joined together. And we're going to create a new material, and we're going to assign it to that one, and then the same with this, link plus new and assign. Okay, so now with that said, let us export this pipe curve.fbx, all the options enabled, click export. I'm going to jump over to Unreal Engine 4, import oops, well, let's just do it again. It's not the curve, it is the connector, sorry. There we go. And Unreal Engine 4, please, there we go. Alright, pipe, connector, import, and it's got its two separate materials again. That actually came up pretty well done, so let's just close that off. I'm going to drag it into the world. It's going to be humongous, and we're going to put it to 0.4. And I don't want to drag a duplicate. I just want to drag it up. And we're just going to line it up with the pipe itself. Okay, that lines up pretty good. And then we can like put it on the seam areas. So we could do something like this. And then like right before there, and then move this one up. And you can see something like that. It would be advisable to do that before every curve. It would just look significantly better. And we can actually apply the pipe material that we created to it. And you'll see it actually looks pretty good from the get-go. So what I would suggest is maybe duplicating the material. And the color is not great, so we're going to add a multiply and feed the color into there. And we're going to create a vector parameter, so vector parameter, and we're going to feed it into B, and then feed the results into the base color. And then we can actually like choose the vector parameter color, so we want a darker gray. And if we click apply, you can see that it's slightly darker. Sorry. There we go, slightly darker. And it all depends then from here. Because it's a different type of metal, you might not want it to be as rough or as metallic. So you can again add the multiply nodes and then just fool around with the color. So let's just quickly see what we can do. Vector parameter. A constant might be a little bit better, but as I said that in one of the other videos, that we might want to fool around with creating material instances. So get into the habit of using something like the vector parameters. Okay, so I'm going to set the color like that, and then I'm actually going to feed this into both these values, and then roughness and metallic. And let's see if we drive the singular one. You can actually see it doesn't really affect the metal itself, the metallic value. So, but let's go for something fairly dark. Roughness, that should be okay, and click apply. Alright, that looks pretty good. You definitely want it to look different than your standard mesh. You might not want it to be reflective, so we can actually let's use a constant this time, just for giggles. Okay, so we're going to set the constant to 1. Constant is 0.9, 0.8. Okay, let's go with 0.6. Okay, not 6, 0.6. Okay, then you kind of get shininess and a matte color in, so let's hook this up to that one and then into the roughness, so it actually uses the values. Let's see. Okay, it's on the roughness map. Unfortunately, it seems that if we want to get this to work perfectly, we're going to have to get our roughness map back from GIMP, change its levels. But for now, I think I'm going to do something like just completely bypass the roughness map and set its value to 0.6. Click apply. Let's see what that looks like. And you can see that looks very, very matte. And we want our roughness map from the texture itself, so that we can have different shiny parts on different parts of the model itself. And 0.4 doesn't look too bad. It does give enough of a shine through. So, alright. So I think pretty much for what we did here, this is our model completed. As I said before, you might want to fool around with your textures over here. I might go into it and then change it up a little bit. You can use this reference chart. If I didn't say it before, I will put the link in the description below, where you can find the values that you are looking for, and you can just change this one texture that we use from cgtextures.com and then just fool around with the values until you get something that you like. Now, we were very lucky to actually get the pipe looking almost exactly the way I wanted it to look from the get-go. But this is going to require a little bit more tinkering, so you might want to go in and out of GIMP and Unreal Engine 4 until you actually get the look that you're going for. Now, also note that this is a completely seamless texture that we've just applied. So none of this texture was actually set up for one particular model. So we can actually jump in later and apply it to something else if we want. So this is a very flexible material that we're creating that we can just like throw into one of our other objects later on inside of the level. So if you like what you saw, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. Please subscribe, and I will see all of you in the next video.